Hello everyone and welcome back to Cupid Parasite. I am continuing on from the last episode. Pretty much straight away I just took a break and came back because I have to finish reading this. Ryuki had invited Lynette to his house for some dinner because she worked all day at his store advertising the product that he just put out for the women's line. Sold every last one of them, and now they're going over for some dinner. I'm hoping something blossoms here because he's been very curious about love, been asking her a bunch of questions, and she's been trying her best to answer them. But she's also feeling something for him because she said that she was a little sad when she felt his breath move away from her whenever he was putting on necklaces and basically using her as a model. Okay, my volume sounds good, I guess. I still sound like I'm echoing in a stadium, but I think that's just how it has to be because I don't have any soundproofing around my table, so. Alright, I'm coming in. You might as well just say bark bark. As soon as I opened the door, Kagura came running up to me. Hello there, Kagura. She sniffed at me, her tail wagging wildly. I looked down at my bag. She stuck his head out of the bag, then jumped in surprise when he saw Kagura there. Come to think of it, she ran away the other day when Kagura barked at him. He really is a scaredy cat.
じゃあ、夕食作ってくるから、適当に座ってて。
Okay. I sat down on the couch and looked around the room. This is my second time here, but everything looks different, probably because it's nighttime now. I looked at the hue chart, then at the 10 Keisaiin commandments. The Keisaiin commandments. The glamour parasite who only cares about beauty won't acknowledge anyone who doesn't meet his standards. I was so surprised when we first met. He sprayed me with his mist, he came at me with those harsh words of his, and yet, now that I've had a chance to spend some time with him, he's a lot more mature and genuine than I realized. His grandmother is Nori Keisaiin, the founder and designer of the Keisaiin brand. There he wants to be an elite designer like his grandma. He's just as hard on himself as he is on everyone around him. I do wish he'd cut himself a little slack. He's incredibly talented, without a doubt. I just wish he could realize how special he is.
ご飯できたよ。
That was quick. Ryuki appeared from the kitchen holding a lovely lacquered plate. He was wearing more casual house clothes and was clearly more relaxed. Seeing him like that helped me feel more comfortable too. The wonderful aroma coming from the plate made my stomach let out another growl. Everything looks so good. This is all Japanese, right?
よくわかったね。
On the table were a variety of small plates and dishes with a selection of food on each. I remembered reading that the finely balanced cuisine of traditional Japanese was a huge trend in lost work lately. I had no idea what each dish was, but everything looked amazing. Just the sight of it all was incredible. I've never actually had Japanese food before.
本当?
Yeah, but everything looked really tasty. So, is this what you're supposed to use to eat it, right? I picked up a fancy pair of chopsticks and he gave me an amused look.
もしかして箸の持ち方知らない?
Are you gonna get a picture of you teaching her to use chopsticks? No.
箸はこうやって持てばいいんだよ。
Let's see it. Come on. Ryuki went behind me and helped show me what to do. He positioned my fingers in a very intricate manner which made them surprisingly hard to hold.
こうして、こことこの指で動かすんだ。
Dang it, I really want to see a picture. Ryuki had never taken the time to explain something to me in so much detail before. Maybe this is because this reminded him of what he'd be doing if he was back in his homeland. I could tell how serious he was. Even from behind, I followed his directions and tried moving the chopsticks. Like this?
ちょっと違う。こう。
Ryuki's fingers are so beautiful. I couldn't take my eyes off his hands. His nails were perfectly manicured and his skin was so smooth and soft. But his hands were also bigger than mine, reminding me that he was in fact a man. Without warning, I tensed up. Oh, really? What the? I was suddenly aware of his hot breath on my neck.
違う。中指はこうして。
You finally aware of him as the opposite sex now. Like this.
違うってば。この指はこうで。
I sense the CG coming. Come on. Slightly irritated, he moved closer to me. His hair brushed my cheek, causing me to turn my head. I was eye to eye with Ryuki. He drew in a sharp breath. Oh. Now you realize how close you are to her. In a flash, he practically jumped away from me.
まあ、大体そんな感じ。食べづらかったら、スプーン持ってくるけど。
No, it's okay. I want to try and get used to them.
そう。じゃあ、食べようか。
That was adorable. I would have loved to have a CG of that. Okay. We prepared to dig in, clearly eager to change the mood in the room. Awkward now. Now go back to the awkwardness. Dang it. Here we go.
いただきます。
I took a small sample of the dish in front of me. A wonderful flavor I've never experienced before sped across my tongue. It's so good.
へえ、和食いけるんだ。
I nodded at him as I chewed. It was nothing like anything I had before, but the flavor was truly remarkable. So what is this anyway?
それはきんぴらごぼう。ごぼうと人参を煮た食物繊維たっぷりの料理だよ。
I don't think I've ever had that before. I see. What about this one?
それはカブの煮付け。
Well, they taste incredible. I had no idea you were such an amazing chef.
ま、料理は美容の一部だからね。健康と美容は栄養バランスのいい食事から。あんたも忙しい時でもきちんと栄養は考えた方がいいよ。
I'll keep that in mind. As he imparted more of his knowledge on beauty, I did my best to improve my chopstick skills. And these are so hard to use. Meanwhile, Ryuki moved his chopsticks around without effort, picking and choosing from the dishes in front of him. He sat up straight, chewing without moving his mouth more than necessary. Every move he made was a picture of grace and beauty. I bet Clarice would tell just how high class he is with a single glance. He was born and raised in the great Keisaiin family. It's natural to assume they're strict about manners too. I tried my best to copy his way of eating when I noticed another small plate of something that looked like beans. Oh, is this the natto you were always eating back during Parasite House?
そう。栄養抜群の完全食。僕は必ず毎日食べてるんだ。ま、苦手な人も多いし、あんたも無理に食べなくてもいいけど。
I picked the dish up in my hand. Where are we at? Let's give it a try. So this is another save file. That's how you're supposed to eat it. So we're gonna save it here. Save file 4. And we're going to give it a try. I took another big bite and the flavor indulged my mouth. It tasted like any other kind of beans, just a little more sticky and gooey. I could see why some people might not like it, but really delicious. Yuki's eyes widened as he watched me shovel in bite after bite.
本当?
Yeah, seriously. It reminded me of the first time I had cheese and yogurt after arriving in the human realm. It had an exotic taste for sure, but not bad at all. Or maybe my natural curiosity was just trying to convince me.
ご飯に乗せて食べるのも美味しいよ。
Really? I followed his suggestion and put some on top of my rice. It gave it a different scent and texture, but it still tasted amazing. And so this is what it means to eat healthy.
日本人以外にも食べる人いるんだ。
Ryuki looked at me with surprise.
っていうか、ロサンヨークに来てから納豆食べる人見たの初めてだ。
Really?
大抵この匂いがダメって言うんだ。こんなに美味しいのに。
Ryuki smiled and took a scoop of natto for himself. We enjoyed our dinner together, and after a while we finished the meal. Well, at least something happened, even if it was very small. Ew, that was so good, thank you. Ryuki looked at my empty plate and gave me a smile.
へえ、全部食べられたんだ。苦手なものはなかったの？
No, everything was amazing. I had no idea Japanese food was so good.
当然でしょ。
He's so happy. Oh. His smile bloomed like a flower. I couldn't take my eyes off of him. I'd never seen him smile like that before. He must have noticed me staring at him because his cheeks started to turn red.
食後にお茶でも飲む？
Yes, let's stay longer, please. Oh, that sounds wonderful.
じゃあ入れてくる。
Ryuki stood up and headed for the kitchen. I looked out the window to the lawn and saw Chi with his face buried in Kagura's food dish. Come on, Chi. I can't believe he's out there chowing down on Kagura's dinner. You can't see him, but he can magically make food disappear. That would be funny. Celestia doesn't have food per se, which is why Chi and I both are so interested in the kinds of things people eat down here. I guess that's why he's out there stuffing his face. Dog food. Knowing Ryuki, I'm sure he buys Kagura the best dog food there is, so it must be really tasty. Still, I should probably scold Chi a bit after we clean up. I picked up my dishes and made my way to the kitchen. This is like... This is like Alan's music. What's with the sound effects? It's like they couldn't put in some effort to give some good side effects. Like, never mind. Anyway. It doesn't sound like clean at all. It sounds like grinding salt. It sees you. Oh my goodness, I'm an electrocute dog. That was so loud. Okay, never mind. Okay. I had to wait for the rain to end. Luckily it did end because that was so loud. Uh-oh, it looks like it's starting to rain. We washed the dishes while the tea brewed. Once it was ready, we headed back to the living room where I noticed it was storming. Weird, considering it was totally clear just a while ago. I guess this is what they mean when they say it's pouring outside. Is he scared of lightning and thunder? That's adorable. Ryuki jumped at the sound of thunder. He looked out at the sky anxiously. Whoa, lightning. So loud. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know when it's gonna thunder, so it's just gonna have to, like, be loud like that. Aw, he's scared. Another bolt cracked through the sky and Ryuki jumped in. Is he scared of lightning? For someone who seems to have nerves of steel, I was surprised to see Ryuki scared of something like that. But what should I do? I don't really want to try to go home in weather like this. I looked at the clock and saw it was past 9 o'clock. I didn't have to go to work too early, but I still wanted to get some rest. Oh, I guess you're gonna have to spend the night at his house.
帰るの？
Don't leave. He's scared. Ryuki suddenly had an angry look on his face. But I spent enough time with him to know that it wasn't anger. He was nervous. He really was scared of lightning. I thought the tea wasn't. You guys just mouthed around tea, right? Actually, if you don't mind, I'd love to stay a little longer, at least until the rain dies down a little. Uh-oh. The lights went out. Without warning, the sky flashed again. The lighthouse flickered and then went out. Aww. I feel bad for him. In the darkness, I heard a gasp and then a loud thump onto the floor. Ryuki, are you okay?
何が？
Well, I just thought maybe you were a little scared.
バカじゃないの。これぐらいで怖がるわけないでしょ。
Despite what he said, his voice was definitely small and frail in that moment. For someone trying to put on a tough act, you sure gasp at every little thunder that you hear. Hmm. The power was out, lightning was tearing through the sky, and rain was falling in a torrent. No way I could get home like this. I took out my phone and saw that the power outage has stopped all the train lines too. Ryuki definitely seems nervous right now, so it looks like that knocked out the entire subway system. Would you mind if I crashed here tonight? I casually tossed the question out into the darkness and sensed Ryuki taking a quick step back.
いいよ。
I could hear the relief in his words. I took that to mean he really was fine with me staying over. I turned on the flashlight on my phone and found Ryuki curled up under a blanket. I had to stop myself from laughing. He definitely wrapped himself up in that blanket because he was scared, right? I knew he'd get really mad if I laughed, so I quickly got a hold of myself. Another flash streaked across the sky, followed by a massive boom. Ryuki looked even more nervous than before.
雨、止まなそうだね。
This is your chance to comfort him. The weather report said it was supposed to be clear today. Good thing we finished dinner already. Chew. I let out an unexpected sneeze. I guess the cold from the rain was getting me too. Ryuki looked at the blanket, then at me. Slowly he opened up a spot for me.
入る。
Yes, we would. Are you sure you don't mind?
冷えるから。
Now, do we get a CG, please? Well, if it's really okay. I crawled underneath the blanket and let out a sigh of relief. Ryuki must have felt the same way. I could feel the tension built up in his body slowly fading away. But the storm was just getting started. The rain and wind were making the windows shake and rattle.
暗いね。
Sure is. The moon must be hidden behind the rain clouds. Once my phone's battery dies, we won't be able to see a thing. Just then I remembered the candle that I bought. Oh, I know. Do you have matches or a lighter, something to light a fire?
マッチ？それならキッチンの一番上の引き出しにあるはずだけど。
Would you mind if I grab them?
いいけど。
I slipped out from under the blanket, went to the kitchen to get the matches. When I came back, I got the present from my bag. It was the scented candle I had bought for Ryuki. Actually, I got you a little gift to celebrate the release of your new line of clothes.
プレゼント？
Yep. I struck a match, then lit the candle and put it on the table. Here. Now might not be the best time, but congratulations on your first ever women's line, and for selling out day one. Ryuki looked at the gently glowing table. His eyes were shimmering. As the light of the flame flickered across his face, his expression started to soften.
これ、あんたが選んだの？
Yeah, I thought about getting something fun for Kagura, but I decided you've been working so hard, you deserve something for yourself.
僕が頑張り屋？
Well, yeah, you work so hard all the time. So I thought this might help you relax a little bit.
そっか。
Maybe it was just a flickering candle, but it looked like his eyes darted to my face, then quickly away again.
匂いもいいし、色もいいね。ありがとう。
I'm glad you like it. But it looks like the candle isn't enough to brighten up the whole place. You don't happen to have some more, do you?
キャンドルか。僕はあんまり買わないな。あ、そういえば姉さんが引っ越しの時に持たせてくれたやつがあったっけ？確か。ちょうどそこの棚の2段目に入ってるから取ってもらえる？
Sure thing. I got up and opened the drawer he pointed to. Just like he said, I found a whole bunch of different candles inside. When I pulled one out, a piece of paper fell out onto the floor. Oh, what's this?
見つかった？
Yeah. I grabbed the paper and brought it along with the candles back to the couch. I laid the candles out on the table and lit them one by one, then slipped back beneath the blanket with Ryuki. Aw, that's so adorable. I'm glad it finally gave us this see. Such a cute picture. The candles filled the room with a variety of colors. The orange and yellows of the warm flickering flames made the room look like it was from another world.
すごい。明るい。
It sure is. We smiled at each other. Without a word, we moved our shoulders up against each other to keep the cold away. I could feel a gentle warmth coming from him. We were glued together, like two little birds fighting off the winter chill. We kept on gazing at the glimmering candles.
これ、あんたみたいだ。
Ryuki smiled and pointed at the candle I had bought him. Like me?
うん。色が似てる。
Oh, he said the color was perfect too. That's my color? As I tried to remember the color code Ryuki had used when we first met, my fingers brushed against the paper. I opened it up to discover a drawing of a dress done in a variety of colored pencil shades. What's this?
なんでそれがここに
Sorry, it fell out of the drawer while I was getting the candles. It's really cute though. Did you draw this?
子供の頃の落書きだよ。大した絵じゃない。
Not a big deal. Maybe he didn't think so, but it was obvious to me just how good of a drawing it was. It even had views of the dress from the back and sides, plus an extra silhouette that made it look like the dress a princess would wear. You've been an amazing designer ever since you were a little kid. Seriously, this is really good. And you drew a veil to go with it, and even matching bouquets. Wait, this would be a wedding dress, right?
まあね。
My clients at Cupid Corp would be absolutely over the moon if we offered a dress like this.
え？これが？
The embroidery along the sleeves and that long lace hem is so gorgeous even a princess would be happy to wear it. If it was me, I'd wear this dress in a heartbeat if I had the chance.
本当？
Aww. A look of honest, genuine happiness crossed his face. I just nodded at him. After staring at me for a second, he broke out in a wide grin. It was the only time I'd ever seen him smile in a way that made him look his age. I didn't know he could even smile like that. It reminded me that he was still just 19 years old. He really is something. He left his childhood home and came here all alone, and now he has a store and his own brand. If I didn't have the help of Aunt Minerva, Gil, and Clarice, I would have never survived down here by myself. I've only made it because so many people helped me in one way or another, and even then, I'm nowhere close to achieving my goal. You really are amazing, Ryuki.
僕が？
Yes, you. You're younger than me, but you've already got your life figured out. You work hard and you're incredibly talented. I wonder if he's going to ask you how old you are. He was a total professional, and he even knew how to cook. He did it all without help from anyone. Probably because he's a total perfectionist, but should I really be so concerned about him? Am I just a busybody?
別にすごくなんてないよ。
He mumbled that almost to himself, and if anything, he sounded almost confused. He looked down at his childhood dress design. From where I was sitting, I couldn't clearly read the look on his face. But I felt his shoulders tense up against mine, so I could tell that he was deep in thought again.
実はさ、僕、子供の頃はドレスの絵ばっかり描いてたんだ。
Is that why you went to men's only? Because your women's clothes was criticized by your grandmother? Really?
うん。ふんわり広がるスカートとか、レースの配置とかを考えるのが好きで、ずっとドレスばっかり描いてた。でも、一族が集まる場で親戚に言われたんだ。ケイサインはメンズ服ブランドだから、そんなもの描いても意味ないって。男なのにめめしいって。
Aw. What? Someone actually said that to you?
ま、大方デザイナーになれなかった人たちばかりだけどね。ケイサインの名前を使って紡績業とかで稼いでるようなやつらだよ。あの頃はただ好きで描いてただけだから、 全部聞き流してた。商品にするつもりもないしって。ただドレスのデザインを描くのが楽しくて、それだけで満足だった。でもある日、おばあ様に呼ばれて本格的にデザインについて教わることになったんだ。おばあ様は厳しかったけれど、今まで感覚でしか知らなかったことを論理的に教えてもらえて楽しかった。デザインをパターンに起こす方法や綺麗なドレープの作り方、服に関係することは何でもおばあ様が教えてくれた。だから最初のうちは楽しかったんだ。今まで見ていた服はこんな一枚の布からできてたんだって知ることができてさ。でも僕が描いたデザインは一つもおばあ様に OK をもらえなかった。これはケイサインのデザインじゃないって言われたんだ。これでは世に出せないって。僕は今まで自分が楽しければいいって思ってた。でもデザインってそういうことじゃない。着る人のことを考えなきゃいけないんだ。そう理解してからはケイサインらしさを知るために必死に勉強した。でもダメだった。おばあ様の OK が出なければケイサインとして服を出すことは許されない。ボツになったデザイン画ばかりが溜まっていって、服を一着も作れない日々が続いて、でも早く服を作りたくて。だから18歳の時に自分でブランドを作ったんだ。早く自分だけの服を作りたかったから。そしておばあ様に認められたかったから。隆起で結果を出して世界的に認められればきっとおばあ様も認めてくれる。そう思って作ったんだ。
Ryuki's voice kept getting weaker and weaker.
でもダメだった。
Ryuki looked down at the clothes he was wearing and bit his lip.
無名のブランドでは誰にも見向きされなかった。僕にはケイサインの名前が使えないから、最初は軌道に乗せるだけで精一杯で。それでもなんとか1年でそれなりのコレクションに呼ばれるようにもなった。なのにおばあ様は何も言わなかった。隆起の服を、僕の作った服を見せてもおばあ様は何も言わなかったんだ。おばあ様は厳しいけれど、良かった時は必ず褒めてくれる。だから何も言わないってことは、僕のデザインに足りないものがあるんだ、きっと。
Maybe she's just jealous of your designs.
でも足りないのが何なのかもうわからない。だから姉さんに言われて婚活も始めたんだ。それでも恋や結婚にも全く興味が持てなかった。姉さんの言ってたことも何一つわからなくて。でも自分がダメなことだけは分かってる。だから僕は。
Ryuki, you need to stop beating up on yourself. Before I realized it, I had interrupted him. My straightforward statement left him looking puzzled.
でも僕のデザインは。
There's nothing wrong with them. After all, I loved his clothes. I didn't want my own feelings to go unacknowledged either. The clothes you create have the power to make people happy. Don't you remember the smiles of everyone who came to buy your clothes today? All those customers and Melanie and me. Your clothes have filled us all with energy. It's not easy finding someone who can do something like that, so please don't say that you're not good enough. I squeezed his hand and looked at him straight in the eye. He stared back, still struggling with his sadness.
でも ケイサイン家は
Is that more important than the opinions of the people actually wearing the clothes? Ryuki let out a soft groan. You said yourself, a good designer has to think about the person wearing the clothes. Well, you did that. You thought about people who wanted to get married but didn't have the perfect outfit. You even came to me for my opinion. So you're doing just fine. I smiled at him. He started to open his mouth as if to say something, but then just quietly shook his head.
実はさ、僕も久しぶりにレディースのデザインをできてすごく楽しかったんだ。レディースのデザインなんてケイサインの人間がやるべきじゃないって言われてずっとメンズ服ばっかり作ってたけど。
Ryuki looked at his wedding dress design again and smiled sadly.
本当は多分ずっと作りたかったんだと思う。
Aw, they make women's clothes. It's okay. Ryuki.
だからさ、ありがとう。きっかけを作ってくれて。
His eyes calmed as he looked at me. Then he turned his gaze back to the candles.
あんたのおかげで久しぶりに楽しい気持ちで服を作れた。今はそれでいいよね。
The candlelight continued to flicker and sway. The profile of Ryuki's face staring at the flame was completely calm. It looked more mature than I'd ever seen him before. Oh, they had a little heart-to-heart. And maybe he won't be so harsh with her every time he sees her. As we sat there, leisurely watching the candle flames dance and move, we talked about a number of things. About dresses and design. About my job and stories about all the places he went in Japan. As the candles went out one by one, Ryuki's eyelids began to droop. Did he fall asleep? He fell asleep. Eventually, his head slowly dropped to my shoulder. It's been a long day. It was the first day he'd ever sold women's clothes, and I'm sure he didn't skimp on the preparations either. I wonder if he slept at all last night. He said he always makes sure to get his beauty sleep, but I also know just how strict he can be with himself. Good night. I pulled the blanket up around him and blew out the last remaining candle. I like that. The whole section or chapter was like about the divine double date, huh?
見て、龍騎ったらまたドレスなんて書いてるわ。
ケイサインなのにレディースを書くなんて信じられん。母親があれだからな。ケイサインの自覚がないんだろ
おまけに人の顔を見たら色の話ばっかり口にして不気味な子供だわ。
どうしてノリエ様は感動しないんだろうな。あんなデザイナーにもならずほっつき歩いている女を。
そうそう。外国のモデルなんかと結婚するときは大喧嘩したって話じゃない。当然よね。ケイサインの恥だわ。
今日の集まりにもいないし、一体どこへ行っているんだか。ケイサインの名が汚れる。
I like how it picks up from where they left off. It's not just, oh, she went home at some random time. And we get to see the after effect of it. Just a bad dream, but it was about something that really happened at a family gathering when I was a kid.
なんであんな夢。
At least I hope she's still there. My grandmother hadn't started monitoring me yet, which might be why the other relatives were so strict with me. My mother chose to become a violinist instead of pursuing a career in design. But despite that, my grandmother trusts her sense of style more than anyone else. My family members that my grandmother didn't choose, the ones jealous of my mother's talent, were the ones that turned on us.
あの頃はわからなかったけれど、父さんと結婚したこともいろいろ言われる原因の一つだったんだろうな。
I forgot which one was Japanese, but I'm guessing since his grandmother sells in Japan, it must be her mother, or his mother. My father was a fashion model from Lost Ark. There you go. But the Keisaiin family is old and highly respected, so everyone expected her to marry into a prominent Japanese family. So when my mother chose my father, the rest of the family decided to basically disown her. But my father kept bringing my sister and I to family gatherings. I guess he was trying to mediate between my mother and grandmother. For New Year's and Oban celebrations, it was my father who made an effort to get in touch with my grandmother. Eventually, I moved into my grandmother's estate so that I could study day and night and become a proper designer.
ずっと昔のことは忘れてたのに。
Seeing that dress design yesterday for the first time in years is probably what caused me to dream about it. I sighed, sat up, then froze because I sighed, sat up, and then froze because DA536E was asleep right next to me. Why does he call her by her number instead of her name? Like, what the heck? After all this time, you still refer to her as a number, a color? I wondered what she was doing here, but when I saw the pile of extinguished candles, it all came back to me.
そっか。昨日あのまま。
That wedding dress design, where my entire family rejected it, she accepted it completely. She said how cute she thought it was, and that she'd even like to wear it herself. Just then, she slowly opened her eyes. She rubbed her sleepy eyes, then looked up at me and smiled. Good morning. Why is she still a color, though? Once I was awake, I noticed that the rain had stopped. Soft morning light streamed in through the window. Oh good, the sun is out today. When I looked over, I saw Ryuki frozen in place. He looked at me like he was wondering what I was doing here. Good morning, Ryuki. He slipped out from under the blanket and took a quick step away from me. I know they showed a blanket all night. How adorable.
ごめん。こんなところで寝させて。
Don't worry about it. It was fun.
でも、質のいい睡眠は美容の基本なのに。
Ah. Kagura suddenly appeared between me and Ryuki. She was straddling her back. What? Now Kagura is a mount. Chi, I wondered where you'd gotten off to. Oh, he's been scolded. Still looking tired, Chi climbed onto my shoulder. His entire body was dripping wet. Was he out flying around in the rain? Oh, I wonder if the power is back on. It looks like it. I checked my phone and saw that the blackout was fixed sometime before midnight. It looked like the subway was working again.
神楽、昨日の雨大丈夫だった？
Kagura was looking directly at Chi. It seemed like she was trying to say something.
神楽、どうしたの？ お腹減ったのかな？
Oh, that's right. Did she eat all of her food? Ryuki gave Kagura a quick pet, then stood up and stretched.
もう7時か。あんたはこれから会社なんだっけ？
Oh, not yet. I'm working the late shift, so I don't need to go until this afternoon.
そっか。じゃあ朝ごはん作るから。よければこれ使ってて。
You guys are practically married already. Should just move in. Ryuki handed me a bottle of lotion and moisturizer from the shelf next to him. Oh, thank you.
昨日は停電で加湿器も止まってたからね。
I see, blushing at that. Looking oddly embarrassed, Ryuki walked into the kitchen. What was that expression? I know, that's what I want to know. Before I would have expected him to look at me with disdain, then spray me with his facial mist without even asking. But this was so completely different. His face was soft, even gentle. I know he's giving you stuff to apply yourself, but he still calls you by a number. Like, what the heck? Ryuki was definitely changing little by little. As I thought about that, I gave Chi a pat. He looked ready to go back to sleep. I ate breakfast and prepared to get going. I still had time before I had to go to the office, so I decided to head home and make myself presentable. Well, I'd better get going. Thanks for breakfast.
ああ、うん。
After his non-committal reply, Ryuki just stared at me. He seemed like he had more he wanted to say. What's the matter?
いや、
Thanks for the candles.
うちにはいつでも来ていいから。神楽だってあんたを気に入ったみたいだし。
Oh, the dog? Or perhaps Ryuki would like to see her again. Kagura wagged her tail as she looked back and forth between me and Ryuki. Well then, I'll be sure to stop by again. Thank you, Ryuki. See you soon, Kagura.
うん。じゃあまた。
So cute. I can't wait to see more of it. After giving Kagura one last stretch, I waved to Ryuki and left the house. I was in a great mood. Ryuki had always been so cold towards me, but at least he seemed like he didn't hate me anymore. This is supposed to be a date, right? So I'm wondering if Owen and Melanie are going to go with Cupid because it's called a divine date. So there's a god involved. Then I'll probably stop the episode after this one since I haven't seen it. After she was gone, where are we at? His backyard, I guess? Yeah, probably. I took Kagura out to the garden and stared up at the sky. It just looked strange because since it's so colorful, it doesn't look natural, so I thought it was like a set instead of a backyard. He's got a... Is that water? I want to say it's water. I want to remember my backyard. This is how I wanted to design my backyard if I ever got a lot of money and could afford it.
ねえ、神楽。昨日からなんだか変なんだ。
You've been feeling weird since yesterday, huh?
今まで誰かが帰っていくのを嫌だって思ったことなんてなかったんだ。そもそも家に呼ばないしね。僕には神楽がいればよかったし、大抵の人間は面倒だから一人の方が気楽だった。僕の理解者は神楽だけだったから。でもなんでだろう。さっき帰ってほしくないって思ったんだ。昨日も誰かと一緒にご飯食べるのが楽しいだなんて思ったことないのに、いつもより食事が美味しく感じられてさ。変だよね。味は絶対的なもののはずで変わるだなんてありえないのに。でも全然違ったんだ。一人で食べる時とも、おばあ様と二人で食べる時とも。
When I first moved in with her, we had dinner together. The rest of my family wasn't around. It was just me and my grandmother. She was so strict when it came to table manners. We weren't even allowed to talk while we were eating. And even though the food had just been prepared, it seemed cold. It made me miss the meals I had with my parents. So I was much more interested in what she could teach me than what my meals were like. After all, clothing is where my true passion was. Back then, nothing made me happier than getting to learn about fashion and design, and yet...
なんでこんなに楽しいって思うんだろう。服 服以外のことなのに。
You're developing feelings.
でも僕はよそ見してる暇なんてない。おばあ様に一度も褒められてないんだから。ねえ神楽、おばあ様元気かな。実はさ、最近は全然おばあ様に連絡を取れてないんだ。何も言われないのが怖くて。一人前になれたって自分で思えたら連絡を取ろうって思ってるんだ。でも
But up until now, I've resisted that urge. What if it turns out that she's already given up on me? What if she's already decided I'll never be worthy of taking over for her and she started training another successor? I'm a Keisaiin, but it's my duty to become the designer that my grandmother wanted me to be. I need to produce real results soon. I want to reassure my grandmother to make her smile and praise me again. On the way back from Ryuki's house, I was on the subway and got off at 2nd Avenue exit. I was about to head home so I could get ready and go into work.
Cupid.
Oh. Your dad is here. Dad? Standing there right in front of me was my dad. She was so startled he ran and hid behind me. Mars, the god of war, stood out like a sore thumb on the streets of Watsuonki, I bet. Because you're here to take me home, aren't you? Even as I talked, I carefully kept my distance so that I could make a run for it at a moment's notice.
いや、確かにそうしてくれると嬉しいが、だが違うのだ。
You're just walking around half clothed, carrying around this giant axe. What are people going to think of you? No?
ああ、キューピッド。ヴィーナスの行方を知らないか。
Venus? You mean mom? I was wondering if that was your mom. What are you talking about? His shoulders slumped with disappointment. He looked like he was about ready to cry. I couldn't bring myself to just walk away, so I took a step toward him and waited for him to tell me what was going on.
実は、わしがお前の邪魔をしようとしていたことが、ヴィーナスにバレてな。怒らせた結果、家出されてしまったのだ。
She ran away. Was she like 12? Mom ran away. So that's why Dad had come down to the human realm. He was trying to work behind the scenes to make me give up and come back to Celestia. But then Mom found out and became absolutely furious with him.
わしは神が出奔するなどあり得ると言い返したのだが。
Mom brought up Dad's one weakness, the Trojan War. She reminded him how she had completely outwitted him. She asked him why he couldn't just let me do what I want. She said he should just be honest and support my efforts. But Dad was stubborn as always, so before he could work up the nerve to say he was wrong, Mom just up and disappeared from Celestia. So basically they had an argument over their daughter's education, and in the end Mom ran away from home just like me.
あやつがいなくなっているのに気づき、さらにはこんな書き置きを見つけて、ようやくわしは自分の過ちに気づいたのだ。
So it took your wife leaving you for you to realize your mistake. You couldn't just realize your mistake when your daughter left you. Your wife had to leave you instead. He showed me the note which said, "You have no idea what you're talking about. You should be ashamed of yourself, great Lord Mars." That's so Mom.
ヴィーナスに見捨てられたら、わしは生きていけぬ。だから居場所を知っていたら教えてほしいのだ。
But you don't have these feelings towards your daughter. How rude. I'm really sorry, but I honestly haven't seen her since I left.
そうか。
I don't know what that says, but okay. On his knees, Dad nodded sadly and then began to sob miserably.
ああ、ヴィーナス。 我が愛しの愛と美の女神よ、どこにおるのだ。わしにはお前しかいないのに。
My goodness, you're going to cause a scene.
ローマの7つの丘もあやつを祀る神殿も全て調べた。だがいなかった。だから娘のもとへ来ているのではと思ってここへも来たのだが、いないのか。ヴィーナスよ。
Hey, Dad, come on. Everyone's staring at you.
ヴィーナス、帰ってきておくれ。わしが悪かったと認める。キューピッドの好きなようにさせるから。
You're shouting to Venus, the goddess of love, and you'll let Cupid do whatever she wants. People must think you are a lunatic.
だから頼む。キューピッドもヴィーナス探しを手伝ってくれ。
Are you ready to admit that you and the other gods were wrong, and that humans can get by without guidance from us?
認めるから頼む。ヴィーナスを見つけたらお前からも帰るよう言ってもらいたいのだ。
Wow, Dad is really on a roll. He was always so stubborn and always argued with me about everything, but as soon as Mom gets mad at him, this is what happens. Forget it. You'll just go back to your old ways as soon as you get Mom back. You can't fool me.
そんなことはない。今回ばかりは確かに反省しておるよ。むしろお前があまりにうまくやっているからわしも意固地になったのだろう。古き神のやり方を否定された気がしてな。神としてお前の振る舞いは許されたものではない。だが時代は変わっている。お前のやり方も一概に悪いとは言えん。
Dad, I had no idea that's how you felt.
だがお前がいないのが寂しくてな。それでつい堅くなになってしまった。
What? You missed me?
と当然だろう。お前はわしの娘なのだぞ。娘に家出されて寂しくないわけないだろう。悠久の時を生きてきた我らディーコンセンテスから見ればお前はまだまだ生まれたてのヒナ同然だ。年を取ってからできた子は可愛いというがそのせいで過保護になりすぎていたようでな。
Dad sighed and looked up into the sky.
おかげで妻にも愛想をつかされてしまった。ああ、ヴィーナス、どこにおるのだ。わしは引き続きヴィーナスを探す。お前も見つけたらわしが反省したよう言っておくれ。
Dad slowly walked away, his shoulders still slumped. He's gone. I looked at Chi and he looked back, seeming just as confused as I was. But still, it sounds like Dad had reflected on a lot of things thanks to Mom yelling at him. He even said he was acting stubborn because I was doing so well and that my way of doing things wasn't all that bad. Something similar happened when I was at Lost York University. When I was a student, there was a bit of rivalry between an older professor and one of the younger ones. It was a clash of opinions between one who valued the traditional approach to education and one who wanted to adopt new ways. Finally, the older professor recognized the younger one's hard work and they managed to combine the best of both worlds. So it seems like gods and humans really aren't all that different in the end. But technically, I just achieved my goal thanks to his change of heart. I was supposed to get a promotion to prove him wrong, but now that he's a changed man, there's no point in getting promoted. So now that I have no reason to pursue a promotion, I'm left wondering what that means for my career. To be honest, I don't think I'm ready to go back to Celestia just yet. My job is really rewarding, way more than just shooting arrows down at people, frankly. I need to join Ryuki and help him with his plan. I'd rather just keep on being the metaphorical Cupid of Cupid Corp, and on top of that, Ryuki. Got the Cinderella music again.
うちにはいつでも来ていいから。神楽だって あんたを気に入ったみたいだし。
Change the picture for that. Oh no, let's keep going. I don't really want to leave Ryuki. He's worked so hard and I'm sure he's going to work even harder from now on, all by himself. He's like a legendary Pegasus, constantly driving himself towards and forgetting to even take a rest. Just running along, ignoring the loneliness, until one day he collapses in pain and never recovers. I feel like he needs someone to tell him it's okay to rest, someone to sit with him and help him relax. I know, he needs a woman in his life. Also, he needs a model to try on all of his new clothes. I don't want him to be alone, and I don't want to be alone. I don't want to leave. Besides, I should stick around at least until we find my mom, right? I said that quietly to Chi, and he nodded as if he understood exactly how I felt. We still have a long ways to go until the ending. To put this in perspective, this section, Divine Double Date, is not even halfway through the sections of Ryuki's. Let's see. Okay, we're exactly halfway then. We're 8 out of 16, so the attraction between them is finally coming out halfway through his route. Let's see, with each of them being half an hour long to another 4 hours, maybe 5 hours of reading. Anyway, eventually I collected myself, went home, and got ready for work. Let's see what's on the agenda for today. Wait, you went home and Clarice wasn't there to tease you for being out all night at a man's house. Well, we're gonna get that later, right? Because I really want to see that. Looking over my notes, I was prepared to work as hard as ever. My job was to interview new members, add them to our patented matchmaking system, and help lead them to a happy marriage. After a few hours, I got up and headed to the break room to get a drink. Ew. I made myself a cup of coffee and breathed a sigh of relief. Just then, I heard the sound of footsteps approaching.
Ah, どうも、こんにちは。
Why are you all awkward? Oh, hey, Owen, want some coffee?
ああ、いただきます。
Is he worried about his date? I grabbed another packet and hit the button to start brewing. Owen stood there silently, looking especially tired. So what's up with you?
え？何がですか？
He acts so innocent when he's not the president's representative. But you just look really tired. I thought maybe work had been kicking your butt lately.
ああ、いえ、仕事はいつも通りです。ですが、プライベートで少し困っていることがありまして。
Owen looked around to make sure no one was watching, then spoke in a hushed voice.
その、男性服の良い店は知りませんか？
He is worried about his date. It's adorable. Nice outfit? Well, what's the occasion?
実は今度、久しぶりに女性と、デートをすることになりまして。
Oh, that's right. His date with Melanie is this Thursday.
前に、婚活で服を洗われたことがありまして、それ以来、デートも避けていたのですが。
Oh, he got laughed at the matchmaking party. That's terrible. Even though he was whispering, he still blushed with embarrassment. Maybe looking at Melanie's profile got him interested again. Or maybe he's been interested ever since showing her around the building. Yeah, that definitely could be it. I didn't need the godly power of Cupid to tell that these two were a good match for each other.
なので、先日コーディネートのセミナーを担当されていたあなたに、良いブランドを教えていただきたく。
I'm gonna send you to Ryuki. Well, have you heard of the men's clothing label called Ryuki? Of course he has. You worked with him for a bit. Melanie already had an Ryuki outfit, so I thought that if he wore something from there, that would be a nice conversation starter. And besides, Ryuki's clothes are the height of cool that bring out the best in whoever wears them, perfect for a first date.
龍騎ですか？
Yep, there's a boutique on 7th Avenue. I'll send you the directions later so you can drop in on your way home from work.
ありがとうございます。助かります。
Why has everyone forgotten about Parasite House? You should know that Ryuki designs that. He was literally drawing at the wedding. Whatever.
次の会議が始まるので、もう行きますね。ありがとうございました。
Owen took his coffee and brushed off. He was clearly just as busy as ever. Owen and Melanie. They're both thoughtful and a little bit reserved. They seem like the perfect couple to me. So I need to do whatever I can to make sure they have a fantastic first date. I imagine them happily walking side by side as I heard they're headed back to my desk to send Owen the map. Before I knew it, it was dinner time. I decided to take a quick break. After a moment, my phone started to ring. I looked down and saw it was Ryuki calling me. That's so annoying. No? Ryuki Keisaiin 000-123-5678.
なんか今、店にオーウェンが来たんだけど、メラニーのデート相手でよかったよね。
Oh, Owen already stopped by? As Ryuki talked, I was secretly impressed that he had managed to remember not only Owen's name, but that he had a date.
そう。なら、そのつもりでコーデするよ。ありがとう。
He called just to ask her that. With that, he hung up. I smiled to myself, unable to contain my happiness. Ryuki had remembered Owen's name and even went out of his way to make it clear that he knew he was going on a date with Melanie. I was proud of myself too. In the past, I would have recommended the first popular brand that came to mind. But instead of just thinking about looks, I also took the wearer and the situation into consideration. I was kind of happy that I'd thought about all that. Ryuki's wearing off on you. Eventually, the day of Owen and Melanie's date arrived. What's about the double date, though? What's that all about? Do you want to get married? That's on her wall. It was my day off, and I was just lounging around the house. I'm bored. I wish Clarice and I had the same days off, but her weekend was every Sunday and Monday, so she was at the office today. Dang, I really wanted to see her scoldy about Ryuki, but whatever. And and with a Parasite 5, no less. That would have been a really interesting conversation. Thinking about it, I looked at the movie's show times up on my phone and gasped. Today is the last day it's in the theaters. For the first time in forever, I decided to go see a movie by myself. I got up and headed out of the house. I'm gonna run into Ryuki and invite him along. As I walked into the lobby of the movie theater, I noticed a familiar face. Huh? Ryuki? Why is he shocked? He made a face of obvious surprise, then quickly forced himself to act calm.
何?
What? Today's my day off, so I decided to come see a movie. Oh, are you here to see the same one?
僕はただ、こっち、隠れて。
What are you doing? What? Are you stalking them? Ryuki suddenly shoved me behind some nearby store shelves. I peeked over at the top to see what was going on, and in the distance I spotted Owen and Melanie.
では、この映画を見ましょう。
You are stalking them? What? It's Owen and Melanie. I exclaimed to Ryuki in a furious whisper. He just nodded as if he already knew exactly what was going on.
二人が映画見に行くって言ってたからさ。
So what, you decided to come and watch them out of curiosity? Ryuki turned away embarrassed.
そりゃ、服の出来具合とか確認する必要はあるし。
And you want to see how couples acted?
それに、レディースは作ったばっかりだから、カップルで着る人を見るの初めてだし、こんな機会ないと思うから。
I want to say that he's just using that as an excuse to like get date tips, but knowing him and how he acted with the yoga outfit, this definitely is work related, which is still adorable, but still. I see.
何を笑ってるの？
Oh, nothing. I was just thinking that you must really love clothes.
当然でしょ。ほら、後をつけるよ。あんたも手伝って。
So the double date is just them seeing the same movie so they can spy on them. What? Ryuki guided me to the ticket counter. We bought our tickets, then went and sat down right behind them. Right behind them? I would have sat at the very back. Surprising that they had decided to watch the same movie I'd been planning to. They just sat there next to each other in complete silence. The atmosphere was awkward, to say the least. Sitting behind them, Ryuki and I did our best to be as small and silent as possible to keep them from noticing us. You could have just sat like in the very back. Don't you think we should have sat a little further away? Yes, I know, right?
でもそうしたら会話聞こえないじゃないか。
So you really are getting dating tips? I guess that's true, but
オーエンさん、そのスーツ素敵ですね。
just then Melanie nervously spoke to Owen. It seemed like she'd been trying to summon up the courage to say that. Next to me, Ryuki reacted specifically to the word suit.
本当ですか？あ、よかった。あなたのそのワンピースもすごく素敵です。
本当ですか？
はい、とてもあなたにぴったりだなと思っていました。
嬉しい。このお洋服すごく気に入っているんです。着ていると勇気がもらえて。
私もです。龍騎っていう店で買ったんですけど。
私もです。
そうなんですか？へえ、奇遇ですね。好みが似てるのでしょうか？
はい、きっと。
Melanie's smile was modest but obviously happy. Even as her advisor, I almost never seen her smile like that. All thanks to your clothes.
かな。
Keeping ourselves hidden, we exchanged quiet smiles. Just then the last trailer ended and the main feature started to roll. We sat back to enjoy the movie, but as it went on, Ryuki seemed more and more interested in the couple in front of us. Oh, that was really good.
ああ、うん、そうだね。
Ryuki was still preoccupied with the couple. They were buying some pamphlets at a nearby kiosk. Ryuki and I hid in the shadows watching them. Melanie looked so happy, and Owen looks much more relaxed than usual. I knew they'd be a good match. I gave a silent prayer that they continue to move things forward. Just then they turned and headed for the theater exit. Ryuki glanced at them, back at me, and then back at them again.
追いかけるよ。
Still? Dang. Roger that. She's like, okay. Apparently Ryuki had not finished his very detailed clothing observations. I felt bad about spying on them, but the Cupid in me couldn't deny my interest. I giggled to myself as Ryuki and I went after them. And so the chase continued. The movie seemed to have eased the tension of their first date, and things were moving along quite peacefully. Actually, Ryuki was really interested in dates whenever the date seminar went on. I think now he is scoping out what a real date looks like because he just had a staged date with her. They got ice cream from Honey York, which is really popular among Lost York women. Then they looked at antique lamps together. Next up was a local bookstore where they seemed to have a particular good time, likely due to their shared interest in books. They each picked out several books to recommend to each other, then discussed which ones each would buy. Browsing through our travel magazine, Melanie talked about all the places she'd been and all the places she'd like to go. Ryuki and I managed to keep ourselves hidden as we continued to observe them.
組み合わせてコーデしただけあっていいね。シルエットもよく合ってるし、色の相性も抜群だ。でも少しオーウェンのスーツが派手すぎるかな。あれでもうちじゃ一番落ち着いた色だけど。並んだ時のバランスか。今度は最初からペアになるような服をデザインしてみようかな。
He seems like he's really enjoying himself. Of course, Ryuki was always at his happiest when he was talking about clothes. Just then, the couple emerged from the store, newly bought books in hand. I moved back into the shadows to avoid being spotted.
次はどうしましょうか。カフェでも行きますか。
はい。
じゃあこちらへ行きましょう。あ、荷物持ちますよ。
ですが、そんな悪いです。
平気です。女性に重たいものは持たせられません。
Dang, Owen, you really know how to take care of a girl. While I was standing there feeling oppressed, a hand reached out next to me.
荷物僕も持つよ。
Oh, I'm fine. It's really not that heavy.
いいから。
Just hand it over. Ryuki took the bag of movie pamphlets he'd bought for me. It was almost like he was competing with Owen. Well, thank you, sir.
まあ講義でやったし。
Seminar? Is he talking about the one Miss Tyner led? He mentioned the seminar the other day too, and Owen was putting those same lessons into practice, so I guess it wasn't a total waste. Owen and Melanie started walking away, and we continued our pursuit. The man should walk next to the road. The man should always open the door. Owen was following her advice to the letter. Ryuki kept a close eye on Owen and copied everything he did. He took my bags, he opened every door for me, and made sure to walk between me and the road. This is adorable.
ほら。
As we went up a flight of stairs, he even held out his hand to me as he hit me with an unusually mature smile. Okay, thank you. It started to get hard to tell whether we were following the new couple or whether we were on a date of our own. Gradually, instead of looking for Owen and Melanie, our eyes began to search for each other. But the day had begun with us pursuing those other two, so I couldn't stop to think about it now. I felt like if I asked to stop following them, that would bring an end to our time together for today.
ほら行こう。
Now she wants to keep pursuing them just so her date continues. Okay. He offered his hand earlier and we were still walking hand in hand. I wasn't sure when or if I should let go. You guys are officially, unofficially on a date. Before I realized it, the sun had gone down and the night had descended. Now what? We followed the couple at a safe distance as they strolled through Lost Rock Park. Just then, Owen glanced behind him and seemed to look right at us. We panicked and dived into nearby bushes.
どうしたんですか？
It's not obvious at all.
ああ、いえ。ロサンヨークパークって夜になると人がいないんだなと思いまして。
You worried about being tailed because you are. Owen rubbed his head, slightly embarrassed, crouching there watching them. I looked over at Ryuki. Listen, Ryuki, I think maybe we should get going. I tugged at his sleeve and he gave me a small nod.
確かに周囲に人もいないし、この公園静かだし、見つかったら厄介だね。邪魔もしたくないし、夜にあの服がどう見えるのかも分かったしね。そろそろ帰ろうか。
Okay. I honestly wasn't ready to leave yet, but I decided it would be best to call it a night. We both started to stand up when all of a sudden... Ryuki froze. I peeked through the bushes to see what he was looking at, then let out a quiet gasp. Because the two of them were kissing. Oh my goodness. What is he? Look at this. It's so funny. The picture is framed with them two kissing. She's online again. Whoa. covered our mouths to make sure we didn't make too much noise. What were we supposed to do? I couldn't afford to make a sound or even move a muscle. I had to stay perfectly still so that I didn't ruin the moment. As we stood there, our shoulders suddenly touched. We looked at each other as if each of us had bumped the other. For some reason I couldn't explain, I suddenly felt embarrassed. What the? He's definitely embarrassed too. As Ryuki stared at me, his face slowly started to turn red. His mouth opened and closed again, as if he was struggling to say something. You guys can't really talk too much either. If there's no one there, there is like zero sound. He seemed to be mouthing something like I didn't, but no sound came out, so we just stood there frozen. Ryuki and I stood there together, watching a new couple make out. I was not sure why, but it was very, very awkward. I'm not sure why. Like, it's because you're spying on someone kissing them. Of course it's awkward. My heart was pounding so loud that I was sure they would hear it. Seeing the two people kiss like that, I suddenly felt like you want to kiss them too. Finally, Ryuki turned his head away from me. I nervously turned my head back as well. We both held our breath and became as still as statues. They stood like that until Owen and Melanie finally made their way out of the barn. Eventually they disappeared from view and we could breathe again at last.
僕たちも帰ろうか。
Was it too much for you being cramped up in the bush? Okay. But when I tried to stand up, my legs felt like they'd turned to rubber. Uh-oh. Your legs asleep? I stumbled and started to fall, but Ryuki reached out and steadied me.
何？大丈夫？
Sorry, I guess my feet went numb. I looked back out, straight into Ryuki's face. Both of our eyes went wide. We were so close. His face, his lips were directly in front of mine. The kiss we both just witnessed flashed through my mind again. Ryuki's hand supporting me felt suddenly hot. I started to get lightheaded. I couldn't move. All day we've been following Owen and Melanie on our date. She calls it a date now. And we basically had an imitation date of our own. I think the translation was meant to say their date. His lips parted slightly. His hands, the hands of a man, moved further up my arms. Oh. With him so close, my head felt like it was on fire. I forgot to breathe. I was so nervous. I had no idea what to do, so I just squeezed my eyes shut. Then out of nowhere, I felt something pinch my thigh. Ow, what the? My eyes shot open. I saw Ryuki trying to hide his embarrassment. He released his steadying grip on me and reverted to his old calm, slightly condescending gaze.
足しびれた時は他のところつねるといいから。
It's like he also had to do that to snap himself out of it. Really?
間違いないよ。子供の頃、正座でおばあ様の話聞いてたから、よくこうしてしびれを逃がしてたんだ。
Oh, I see. He pinched my thigh again, and just like he said, I could feel the numbness from before fade a bit. It's so funny. Every time he teaches her something new, it's like a 5-year-old learned it for the first time. She's like, oh, huh. Okay, so it does. It's so adorable. Even though she's like a grown woman, she's just like, learn something new today. Anyway, I'm okay that they didn't kiss. We got a CG of them with candles, and like I said, this is just halfway through the route, so there's plenty of time for that. I actually like the pace that this is going in. It doesn't feel rushed like some of the other Otome games that I've read. It feels like two people actually spending time to get to know each other, or things just randomly happening like now.
治った？
Yeah, I think so.
そう。じゃあ帰るよ。
Without warning, Ryuki started walking ahead of me. As I followed him, I took a quick glance behind me where Owen and Melanie had been standing. There was obviously nothing there, but their kiss burned so brightly in my memory that I could feel my ears getting hot again. Well, you are the woman. You're going to think about it the most. After leaving her at the subway station, I walked back to my house alone. Oh, we're in Ryuki's point of view.
なんなんだよ、これ。
This was certainly a day for you, wasn't it? Back at the subway, my cheeks were so hot I couldn't even look at her as she left. I couldn't form a proper sentence, which I'm sure made me look even more suspicious. I wanted to tell her that I wasn't embarrassed, but I couldn't even get that out. And all because I saw those two kiss. Thinking about it, I could feel my face getting hot again. That was the first time I'd ever seen someone kiss in real life. But I had no idea how to react. I tried acting normal, but I couldn't. I felt ashamed and confused. So I just looked at her, but then her face turned red too, which just made me feel even more awkward.
でも、顔を赤くするってことは、あいつもキスを見たのは初めてなのか。
No, I'm sure it's not the first time. She's been to weddings. I was wondering if maybe she never actually kissed anyone before. Yeah, that's more accurate. I was surprised to find that I was relieved at that thought. Oh, really?
なんでホッとするんだ。別にあいつがキスしててもしてなくても。
Yes, you do. No, I realized that I didn't like the thought of her kissing someone else at all.
あれ？
My heart was pounding, my pulse was quickening, my face was hot, and I was breathing faster. Her smile, her delicate hands in mine, even the face she made in that cake, it all came flooding back to me. What's happening to me? I don't like this. I don't like it. It was like the two of us had actually been on a date all day today. But that's impossible. It's the A536E. Wait, is that the same number? That's not the same number you gave her earlier, right? I feel like that's not the same.
でも、楽しかった。
You're finally understanding what your sister meant. Which must be why I nearly kissed her. You nearly kissed her. It's an instinct. It just comes over you all of a sudden, even if you can't explain it. Part of me wants to say that it was just thinking about imitating Owen. But either way, I was completely ready to kiss her. I've never wanted to do that before.
なんなんだよ、これ。
I had no clue. Embarrassed and confused, I just started running. Running. I had to calm down. If I could just get home, see Kagura, read the 10 Keisaiin commandments again, then everything would go back to normal. The strange feeling was just temporary. I was just having a moment of confusion. Sure that this was the case, I kept running down the moonlit street. That's where we're going to end. Overheating, huh? I wonder what the overheating's about. Anyway, I'm even more excited to read the rest of this now. The music hasn't changed, which is strange, considering it's the next morning, but whatever. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. I really liked this one. The candles and then him imitating Owen on the date. I knew that's what was going to happen. They kept following. And with this only being halfway through his route, I am... can't wait to finish it. But I'm going to have to stop recording today. I've literally been recording all day. So I've recorded 3 hours of Code Realize, and now this is... See, I recorded 2 hours of the last episode, so another hour and a half, so... I've been recording for like over 7 hours today. And now I need to start editing those so I can start getting some videos scheduled to release. But yeah, drop a like down below if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.